perfect. There is no 1A, 1B. He is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. And I would have never imagined myself saying that.
It's a bold take.
All last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. in my mind was the clear-cut top prospect overall, clear-cut top receiver prospect. And I started diving into the film postseason after the college football season. And Malik Nabers is this year's best receiver coming out. And honestly, it's not really close. He separates himself in many different aspects from Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a little bit more fluent. He reminds me more of a Justin Jefferson style, which has become the more tough cover in the NFL, like the Tyreek Hill, the Justin Jefferson has been a little bit tougher to cover than just a guy that's like big and physical and kind of has like that raw athleticism. It'll always be a tough cover, but this is really becoming a problem in the NFL to try to deal with. And Malik Nabers, the similarities with him and Jay Jettas, it's crazy. And when you get into the film, you'll start to see why. But John, he is my clear number one receiver in this draft. You can, if you want to pull up the stat comparison too before I dive
I'll
into
do
film,
that for you.
Because it's not just the film. Like, obviously, numbers can lie. They played the same number of games. Malik Nabers had 189 catches to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s 155, which can be obviously skewed because of targets and whatnot.
Quarterback.
He had 3,000 and he had 3,003 yards compared to Marvin Harrison's 2,600 yards. Harrison did have him in touchdowns. Harrison Jr. had 31 compared to Nabers' 21. And they both averaged roughly 16 yards per completion. Marvin Harrison slightly edges there with 16.8. So very similar, obviously, numbers-wise, but the yards and catches, pretty big change. And obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. had more red zone targets and had more touchdowns over the course of his career. But Malik Nabers was kind of late to the party, right? Like, we didn't really hear about Malik Nabers until last year. So his touchdowns might not be as high, but he had a ridiculous year last year. He had better numbers in every category last year ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. and did not win the Biletnikoff. So there's obviously a little bit of bias towards towards him because of that name. And I tell John this, and I'm warning people out there, if his name was something different, he wouldn't be the clear-cut number one. He'd still be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. Don't get me wrong. But you can still be overrated at where he is. It's not unfair to say that Malik Nabers is a better receiver prospect. And we'll get into why here into some film.
Well, let's dig right into it because, again, I'm not saying outright that you're incorrect here, but a lot of people would disagree with you, and so
a lot of people would disagree with me.
But I
disagree with a lot of people,
right? But I also agree with the idea that it could be because of the fact that everyone's been saying Marvin Harrison for 2.5, 3 years now. So
I'm telling you, man, if his name was something, if these guys switched their names, Malik Nabers would be like. It'd be like the craziest thing we've ever heard of talking about this guy as a prospect. First thing about him, his Instagram name is literally Can't Guard Malik. So
okay, got it.
He's not wrong either, because when you watch it, he's tough. This is a
Big
scramble
fan.
Yeah, well, let's hope he's not like Michael Thomas. This first play is a scramble play. It's a broken play. He runs like a simple hitch route. And what really stands out is his speed after the catch. So he catches this thing and crosses the field, which you really shouldn't do. And there's not, I don't think, another receiver in college football that would have gotten past all of those different defenders' angles. Now, this play, they ruled him stepping out of bounds, so it was not a touchdown. But you just see the speed and him outrunning all of these guys that practice this leverage where you're working on an angle. If you take an angle, you should be able to catch anybody because they all had a chance. Every single one of these defenders you watch on the film, if they take the right angle, will at least be able to catch up to him. But he outruns them all. And then he just barely steps out of bounds.
I was going to say, where does he step right there?
They ruled him out at like the 25.
I'm like trying to
look at the acceleration. Like, he catches the ball and then he's full speed like right away. He was not moving, catches the ball, and outruns everybody that was moving.
Crazy.
So he has freaky change of direction, freaky acceleration, and that's what stands out to me. And he can get out of his break, and he has the hands. Like, he really does check every box like Marvin Harrison Jr. does. It's just like he wasn't talked about as much.
Right.
You'll see a double move here. This is like a post and go route, fakes like a fake bang or slant route. But you see, he sells it with his eyes. He sells it with his pad level. His hips change direction. he's a technician too. Like he's not a raw, like just a freak athlete guy. He has all of the coached, learned, practiced things in his bag. This defender has no chance. Like he didn't beat that defender with speed. He beat him with technique. And that's the thing I really like because he can do both. Great route, runs through the catch. He's comfortable catching a ball.
Out of that, dude.
Yes. He's very, very good at making you think he's doing one thing and doing another, which is the art of the receiver position. Deception is the number one thing that really can separate you from other guys because a lot of these guys are equal in speed, size, height, catching ability. A lot of them are pretty damn close, but it's deception that a lot of people struggle with and understanding what you need to do to get open.
That's crazy.
This clip is one of my favorites because you see how good his start-stop is, his release, his acceleration, how good he gets out of the break, how quickly he accelerates after the catch. He can make people miss. I'm telling you, John, like this guy is a day one receiver one with whatever team he goes to. And if he is not the first receiver taken, someone's getting a steal. Gets the defender to open his hips, makes him think he's running by him, puts his feet in the ground, snaps out of it. He uses his hands really well in the top of his break here just to make sure that he stays open. He catches it confidently. This is what you dream of getting as a franchise receiver.
It's crazy.
This clip is not sped up. I want to repeat, it's not sped up. So this is just a slip route, okay? Nothing about the route is impressive.
Is he
Nothing
top
about it. Watch him. Yeah, he goes in motion. Watch him catch this and watch how quickly he gets up the field. It's not sped up. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Like, I watched this clip the first time I saw this, and I was just thinking it was just going to be an average play, and he just smoked by everybody after catching this thing. Like, the acceleration to score here, I'd really – it's rare to see that in any player.
That is insane. Now, he's a little bit undersized compared to Marv and Rome, who we're going to get into. Like, obviously, that's not the end-all be-all. We see plenty of top-line receivers. Where do you think, like, his fit is from a team perspective, right? Like, say Cardinals, grab Marv at 4 because that's where everybody's projecting him. Like, what teams need a receiver of his skill set the most? Like, where he's maybe not like an X. He's not like the jump ball guy. He seems to be, like, incredibly speedy, great technique, able to change direction super easily. Do you have anybody that comes to mind, like as far as some of those like top 10, top 15 drafting teams that you think are going to go for him?
I mean, every team would thrive with a guy like this because Nabers, unlike some of these other bigger targets, he can play both inside, outside. He could play the X or Z. He could play a slot. He can go in motion and run routes. You can give him the ball on handoffs. Like he has plenty of times where he gets the ball on a handoff and does something impressive with the ball in his hands. So he's just a special athlete. I really think, honestly, I think the Chargers would be a great fit for him. They lost Keenan Allen. They lost Mike Williams. Quentin Johnson really, wasn't what you thought he'd be. Yeah. But even if he starts to figure it out a little bit, he can be like your ex jump ball guy, and Nabers can be like, he can be the next coming of what Keenan Allen was, but he's got more speed and change of direction, acceleration than Keenan Allen ever had. So, I think that's a good fit because Justin Herbert needs a receiver, one guy that he can go to and a guy that can get open all the time.
The Chargers are in a really interesting spot at 5 because I think all of their positions that need, they benefit more trading back. And there's going to be some quarterback needy teams trying to get in at 5, I think. So,
yeah,
I'm curious.
This is a tough dude to pass on, John. I'll be honest with you. I would not be shocked to see someone take him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. Just depends on the team.